Bisama's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassman finds Bissam.
Now Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
Wages remain unpaid. Defeat at the Def. Groups asking Chansiri to leave, and we all witnessed Danny Rohl looking like a broken man. A man that looked destined to be leaving the club sooner rather than later. If you're looking forward to detailed analysis from yesterday's defeat against Hull City, then prepare to be disappointed, as tonight's episode is going to be primarily dominated by talkings that have been going on off the pitch, as you can imagine. Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Till I Die podcast. I'm James Mappin. Alongside me, as he always is, every single week, is Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, how's things? Anger, frustration, disappointment, sadness, emptiness? I don't know. What emotions are you feeling at the moment?
Angry, James. Very, very angry. Have been so for a while. This week's sort of events have solidified, obviously, a lot of the discussion that we're having. I am going to try and remain as emotionally impartial as I possibly can this evening. But yeah, very, very angry.
I'm going to stick my neck on the line and say that's not going to happen, Matt.
I think there's going to be a few options where it creeps out.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, there is that match that took place yesterday. We will try and get onto it at some point. We might do, we might not. I've no idea how long it's going to go on for. But yeah, there is kind of a bigger, the elephant in the room, or the golden elephant in the room, as so to speak. We'll get straight into it. I'm just going to read a few comments out first. If you're watching live on YouTube, then yeah, get your comments in. Don't forget to subscribe, do all that usual jazz. Stephen said, honestly, this chairman needs to sell up. I think this chairman has paid other debts off in preparation for selling the club or getting his house in order to satisfy the new regulations. Stephen said, hi boys, just let you know I've been to the bank and withdrew my life savings and can officially say I'm happy to give £6.49 towards the player wages. You could put that towards a Patreon subscription as well, just saying. Just segue into that, but anyway. Jake, don't think there's much to talk about tonight, lads. No, nothing to talk about whatsoever. Do you know what? Genuinely, I wish you weren't talking about this. I keep saying it every single week. I wonder what Stoke talk about on their podcast and things, and or Brentford. What do they talk about on their?
I've got a lot of time for Stoke at the minute. £10 for an away ticket for penultimate away day from the season. That is absolutely outstanding work from everybody at Stoke, and something that a lot of other Championship clubs can take note of.
Yep, definitely agree. I think it's £10 all around the ground, isn't it, for the home fans as well? I do believe.
Yeah, I think it was £10 for adult full tickets, £6 concessions. I think going down to £4 for under 15s or something. It's something ridiculous, but yeah, it's absolutely fantastic, and yeah, I'm really, really looking forward to my day out in Stoke, which nobody's ever said before.
Yeah, well, just on that, I think Stoke's season tickets have been frozen for the last, I want to say it's something ridiculous like 15 years or something like that. They've not, the season ticket prices haven't gone up. And someone went through the troubles of actually working out what that would be like with inflation and stuff. It said it was, worked out that, I don't know, about £200 for the season ticket or whatever it may be. But yeah, Stephen, boys, you don't need the money. The club does. Yes, definitely the club. I think I've got more money in my bank account than what Chansiri's got at the moment, and I ain't got a lot. Put it that way. Lee, evening gents, tough week. Feel as exhausted as Danny looked on Saturday. Cheered myself up by watching the celebrations at Sunderland last season. 10 months on, and here we are. Thank you, Mr. Chansiri. Do keep all the comments in. We'll try and get through as much of them as we possibly can throughout the show. The interview then with the star that Mr. Chansiri did. It came out, as everything does with Chansiri, late on. This was kind of just before 10 o'clock, I think it was, or something like that, just before 9 o'clock on Friday evening. I was reading it thinking, like, can it get any worse? It started off pretty bad by him saying that, he's not got any money, £2 million a month for outgoings and things like that. And as you just read it, Matt, it just got worse and worse and worse. I mean, he's come out and said, that if he doesn't pay the wages by Monday, as in tomorrow, as we're listening to this and recording this, then the club have already amassed the 30 days of missed payments, and then we'd be faced with a 3-window embargo, meaning, next time we can actually pay a fee for a player, or indeed a loan player for that matter as well, is January 2027, which is absolutely mental. I mean, do you know what? Just if that happens, Matt, it will be absolutely catastrophic for the club, wouldn't it, to be fair?
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm very well aware that the next couple of statements that we're going to talk about in regards to this, I'm making from a purely power struggle point of view. Because stuff that we've touched on this evening, I know we can all kind of like have a bit of a laugh and a joke about it. I don't want players going unpaid. I don't want them struggling to pay mortgages. I don't want them struggling to feed families, being able to live any sort of a life outside of work because of the lack of pay. Just because footballers make better money than the most of us listening to this, or definitely me and you sat on this, James, they've earned that right by being the 0.03% of the population to make it in professional football. Kind of what I suppose we're going to talk about this evening. I'm posing the argument like the way I'm going to frame it this evening, from a fairly cold emotional standpoint, because it appears that DC doesn't care about, first and foremost, fans. We know this, but about players. And because if he did, he would have informed players and staff that this was coming, because as we found out on Monday and then in subsequent days after, players weren't informed.
That is mad, that, isn't it, Matt? Like, just for that, from someone that talks about respect a lot, and he does whenever he's addressed the fans. Respect is kind of the big kind of point that he tries to hammer home. Just from that point of view, you'd just give him the heads up, wouldn't you? Heads up, lads. I know it's a bit shit, and I'm ever so sorry. However, this is going to happen. I will get it sorted as soon as I possibly can. Do you know what I mean? Just tell them before, the day before, whenever. Don't let them, just don't let them find out themselves, or indeed find out from the club's website, oh, by the way, you've not been paid this month. Like that. Yep. It's just, again, it's just respect. And he's just let them down massively. I mean, he has let them down numerous occasions. He's certainly let us down as fans on numerous occasions. But to let the players down, that's just like that. It's even worse for me, like from that point of view.
Well, I mean, you should just be giving dates about when it can be rectified by. Instead, if I owe a friend of mine even a tenner, I'm letting them know, oh, can I give it you back in a day, 2 days? I ain't got any cash on me at the minute. Can I give it you back the next time I see you? So, like, they have a time frame of they know. When we are talking about vast quantities of money here to an individual, which they have earned, like, you can't just be saying, well, it's not been paid and I don't know whether it will be, and not actually go. And again, James, I'm speculating here. We don't know whether that was, but there are a number of reports that have come out saying that players were not forewarned about this. Yeah. We've had no statement from the club about this as well since that particular incident. I don't think I'm being too harsh or going as far to say it's degrading to the players. It's shameful on the part of the football club, not just for the players in the door, but any prospective players who are looking at this football club from an outside perspective. Why on earth would you want to come here?
Well, yeah, exactly. We're heading. The end of the season is vastly approaching. And then what's going to happen? You touched on that point there. About just saying. Well, we talked about respect and stuff, but yeah, the fact that just letting people know when something's going to happen, like it means so much on the on the bigger picture rather than more than anything else. But yeah, I mean, as of now, the wages haven't been paid. I can fairly confidently say that. You'd like to think that the club would come out and at least say something as well. If it has been paid. The other point I was going to make as well, when you said about the club haven't said anything, the club have come out and said anything, and there's always speculation. Chansiri gets really annoyed about people speculating on stuff. But do you know what? Knowing nothing comes out of the club, and when you have got a fan base as big as we have, because it is a big fan base, in comparison to many other football clubs, even in the Premier League as well. When nothing comes out, guess what? People will start speculating. He said, she said, whatever. Someone knows, someone's brothers, sisters, girlfriends, whatever that works at training ground has said so and so. Do you know what I mean? And if they don't come out and say anything, then they're going to gather, gain traction, and people hear things from different people. So that's what happens. You can't get annoyed about that if they're not going to come out and squash any rumours. And do you know what? I see it on other clubs as well. Other clubs put statements out saying, we've seen rumours circulating online and we want to say that this and this is the truth, just to squash any rumours and stuff. But they don't. They let all these rumours just kind of go around, and are they true or are they not true? No, nobody has any clue, any idea. But this is where we are. I mean, what do you think? Do you think the wages are going to be paid? I mean, we're nearly at the 11th hour already now. Yeah. I don't know. What's your hunch?
Again, James, I would like to stress this point here. I am talking about it from a power play point of view here. I'm not talking about it from a perspective of the emotional side of things, because it's absolutely abhorrent what has been going on with this football club. From a PowerPoint point of view, don't pay it. Otherwise, you are weak, pathetic. It's an empty threat that you've already used, and you're playing fast and loose with gaslighting everyone connected to this football club, like you did with a tax bill 18 months ago. We've heard this excuse before about I am owed money from someone else, as going as far back as 2021, when we originally couldn't pay players for a 4-month spell. Again, him saying I'm owed money by somebody else is him attempting to shift blame onto somebody else. To be crystal clear here, this is your fault, Dejphon. You can't organise your own finances, let alone somebody else's, so do not attempt to shift the blame onto these shadow figures that miraculously at the 11th hour at any time a bill needs paying, they turn up and have it, and before that they don't. This is not a fan attempting to bait a chairman into doing something that would plunge this club into, let's be completely, let's put it all on the table here, a really dark place for the next 18 to 24 months. But this is a fan saying that if he triggers this to happen, no one inside or outside the club can defend the man. The fans, the media, the authorities are all at his door at present. And the players are the most public-facing front of that football club. And if you think that pressure has been bad this week from a national scrutiny, we've had Henry Winter joining BBC Radio Sheffield, one of the most respected football journalists in this country, talking about how abhorrent it is and how disgusting it is and how disgraceful the ownership is. See what happens when this lands tomorrow. It invites press, it invites the EFL, the taxman, the incoming football regulator, everyone to the doors of Sheffield 6 in the next 6 to 12 months, and allows them all to have a pop. And anyone thinking this ends amicably, because I've heard a lot of people saying this, we'd like to shake hands. Myself and Simon sat here a couple of weeks ago and said, we'd like to strike a fair deal and everybody would end amicably. This is just my own personal belief. Anybody who thinks this ends amicably, I'm sorry to break the news, it doesn't. That time has gone, and had done a while ago. What I would like him to do is rip the bandage off now, and let's see how much of a mess you've made of this football club.
Yeah, because he's had ample opportunity, Matt, to do that. He's had so many opportunities to just say, enough's enough, and I'm going to walk away, and I'm going to, sell the club or whatever. And every single time he's not done it, and every single time he's had an excuse, and every single time it's always been aimed at us. If you want me to go, you find a buyer, and he sticks to that line every single time. We've seen him, the messages on LinkedIn of all places, which. Believe them or not, entirely up to you. I know we'll come on to that in a bit, Matt. But yeah, he stuck to that line quite comfortably as well. But yeah, I'm just going to read some more comments out because there's so many comments on this as there always is. So do feel free to chip in, Matt, if you do see any. Daniel said he's ruined our club top to bottom. Time is up, Chansiri. Enough is enough. He's got to go. Got another one here. Matt, obviously it was bad, but just seems to have spiraled out of control very quickly. It's an absolute mess. Yeah, I think, Matt, on that, the fact that the supporters groups have come together and kind of unified, and they put a statement out. We'll talk about that in a second. Then they put another one out as well, again, that's a little bit more strongly worded. It does feel like his house of cards is falling down, and everyone that were backing him previously. I mean, even the Wednesday Sing has even fallen down as well, which I never thought I would see the day. But everyone that was previously backing him from a group perspective, is now showing the disdain. Nat says just can't.
Sorry, mate.
Go on,
Sorry,
Nat
mate.
said, just can't see any light at the end of the tunnel. Go on, Matt.
The other one here, which I've put from Dave, is I think personally he's scared to sell as new owners would see the books and what has been going on behind the scenes and that being revealed. Now, again, if you've signed a non-disclosure agreement, that becomes a moot point. If it's the taxman and the EFL, get ready for some very interesting reading, Sheffield Wednesday fans.
Yeah. Just on that, I'm going to move on to where his money comes from, because that is a concern of mine. Like, we still don't know. We all think, and we all say, well, he gets cited as a successful businessman. And I've come on here and said, I don't think he is. Like, I don't think, because when you look into Thai Union Foods, they don't have anything to do with Dejphon Chansiri. His name is nowhere when it comes to them. Now, I must admit, I've not spent hours and hours delving in. I've just had, have a quick look and hear what other people are saying and stuff. But for me, I just can't see much about him whatsoever. And then the comment that he made to Alex on Friday, Alex Miller, of course, the fact that the reason why he hasn't got money is because he has to invest the money that he has in order to generate more. Now, does he mean investing in stocks and shares? Is he investing in property? I've no idea what he means by investing. Maybe he's just used the wrong word totally when it comes to that. But when you said about there, sign a non-disclosure agreement and so people can look into the accounts. It wouldn't surprise me if money is going in and out like nobody's business into Sheffield Wednesday Football Club, coming straight back out of it to go somewhere else, then back in again, then and he's just got a little bit muddled up, and his money's gone out somewhere, and well, clearly it's not come back because he said that he hasn't been paid. It's just I don't know where. I literally just don't know where the money's come from, and I don't think we've ever found out, have we? Because a lot of people say, "Oh, his family will bail him out." Now, like, not being funny, but if my sister said she needed a bit of money, I might give her a bit of money. But if it's time after time after time after time, it gets a point where you just think, "Do you know what? Yeah, I've got more money, but I'm just not giving you money every single month, week, whatever it may be." There comes a point where that stops. Now, I don't even know if that's what's happening. I don't know if he's getting money from his family to pay these bills. Because, again, we're speculating because nobody ever tells us anything. But what we do know is he's skint. He's got no money. The money's ran dry, and I just can't believe it's got to this point where you can't pay the players. Like, surely, I don't run a business, but people I've spoken to that do.
Sorry, James, sell your house.
Yeah, I couldn't ask a question at the fans forum because I've not got my own business. But the cash flow, I've been told, cash flow is something that you project constantly. You should know when these times are coming. Do you know what I mean? And you should have things in place to actually prevent them. I mean, maybe he's exhausted all the possible avenues that he can go down to get the money, and this is why we're sat in this situation, wondering whether we're going to be able to sign a player for the next 3 transfer windows.
I agree, James. Ultimately, the only real serious, stable and steady source of income I can see is from his family's business. And that is a monstrous business. Let's not get confused here. It was a monstrous business 10 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. John West hasn't gone out of business since. Everyone's still got a tin of it in their cupboard.
Actually, I don't have any John West tuna. That's not out of protest. I just hate fucking tuna. But anyway,
but my point kind of still stands is we have had Sheffield Wednesday fans for, let's say, let's be kind, 6 years, really digging into his finances. Some have taken it more serious than others, but there have been people who have been digging into his finances for the last 6 years. That's being conservative there. No one can actually find the root of this money. Now, if I know one thing about Sheffield Wednesday fans, they will find water where there is no water.
Yes.
Like they will find any and everything. And the wonderful explosion of social media has kind of been proving of this, because people find all sorts of random shit on the internet, like all sorts of random bits and pieces, and they turn up and you sit there and you think, how somebody found that? Like, how has somebody genuinely gone out and found that? I confess, I haven't found anything. So let's see. I have my own thoughts in terms of why we're so skint and been living so hand to mouth for the last 5 years. But I am prepared to sit and wait on that before I start doing a victory lap surrounding it. But again, I have some very, very serious ideas about like where that money has come from. And it may well be something so simple as, James, as if the only stable base and source of income is his dad. I'm really not meaning to belittle him, but I can't think of a better turn of phrase for it. He's just simply waiting for his pocket money and it's not been paid.
Which is just a sad state of affairs, isn't it? That a football club like Sheffield Wednesday is literally waiting for the owner's dad to give him some money. Like, if that is what it is. Matt said Mr. Chansiri has several businesses in Thailand. Yeah, I know Thailand's not really got a company's house, or if they have, I haven't found it anyway, to find kind of any businesses that he's associated to or anything like that. Nev said, I think he means his TUG dividends. Look at their share price over the last few months. I've not looked, but I'm guessing that it's plummeted, given what you've said. Nat says, I blame John West for DC having no money. I'm
just going to pull this one up, James, from Andrew here.
Sorry,
which is nobody will lend him funds, which we know to be true. We know to be true due to the 12-month rolling mortgage on Hillsborough, and the fact that credit card companies won't go anywhere near him for season tickets and you've got to finance them. So this is true about the stupid levels of APR and VIS as well. So there's ridiculous amounts of it's the small little pockets, but there's so much evidence now. Like there is so much evidence now that this particular owner is out of money and out of ideas.
Yeah, Nick said, am I right in thinking that this consortium Simon is alluding to is headed by Adam Shaw? If DC is asking for us to find a buyer, why does Simon or Shaw not come forward? Just on that, I've been obviously we speak to Simon and various other chats and stuff, and I do believe a lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes. Simon's he's very kind of secretive, and it's not like he doesn't tell. He comes on here and says these things he can't say. He doesn't tell me or Matt those things either off camera. That he does stay very true to his word. Whoever is giving him this information, whoever he's talking to or whatever, he's obviously staying quite quiet. One thing I would say as well is all this that's happened has come very, very quickly. I know that Simon were projecting that money would run out kind of by November. A little bit later on in the year. Obviously, this has come very quickly, so I'm guessing they've had to move quickly and start assembling and what have you. But yeah, we're only we're 7 days, not even 7 days are we yet after it was announced that we'd the wages. So I don't know. I don't know how quick these things happen. I've no idea.
No, as you rightly say, James, there this situation has. I obviously covered it in the week with Simon when we did an emergency one that was at 12 hours, like 12, 24 hours notice. People didn't see this coming. This wasn't in anybody's projection, let's say, or so to speak. And I think that reigns true from also local journalists as well. It's caught everybody off guard. It's not like there's been this gradual build-up. It's caught supporters. It seems to have caught every single person off guard. The only person who had this information that this wasn't going to be feasible was the chairman. And that is why, going back to that point at the top, James, that we made here, is the bare minimum that should have been done is you inform your employees and you inform all of your supporters or customers, whichever phrasing that you would like to use, of the fact that this isn't going to be met and a date when this will be sorted by.
Yeah, you bang right there. Another thing I want to bring up, Matt, is this point, which I read it and I had to read it again because I was like, really?
Yeah.
And he said, and I quote, "You can even see Reading, for example. They have had a problem with embargoes, but they could get promoted. And it really got to me, this line. Like Reading, no disrespect to Reading, but you could list the 92 clubs in the EFL, and if you had Reading down as the worst run football club in the EFL, I don't think anyone would really question you on it at all, to be fair.
Yeah.
And we've got Dejphon Chansiri citing them as, the issue, the problems that they're in not being a problem. And, because they could still get promoted. I just couldn't believe it when I was reading it. Like, is that really who we're aspiring to? When we talk about well-run football clubs, the two usual suspects come up, Brentford and Brighton. Yeah. As an outsider looking in, purely just from a fan's perspective that perhaps don't know too much about football, you look at clubs and you go, they're the two clubs that are seemingly well-run. They've come from nothing, relative nothing, and now they're sustaining themselves in the Premier League. Brand new stadium for Brighton, brand new stadium for Brentford as well, and yeah, they managed to stay in the Premier League. Reading, on the other hand, the EFL have just extended the deadline for De Jong to sell the club, like to forcefully sell the club. Mm-hmm. But yet, they're all right because they're nearly getting promoted, Matt.
Genuinely, if you were looking for an example of just how out of touch the owner currently is with anything that is going on in English football, let alone Sheffield Wednesday, but actually wider English football, and actually understanding the feeling of anger amongst not only Sheffield Wednesday and Reading fans, but wider footballing communities towards the ownership of both those clubs. Because we have, I've actually had Sheffield United fans messaging me this week, and I don't live in Sheffield or know Sheffield United fans. I try my hardest to stay as far away from them as possible. Apologies to anybody who's listening. I've had them messaging me this week and going, it's fucking crackers, what's going on at your place, isn't it? Yeah. Like, it is absolutely bonkers that you would go, oh, well, do you know what? They're in with a chance of playoffs. Yeah, so for fucking we until the last two games when you stop paying players. Like, you won't hear me. Obviously, me and you sat on here last week, James, 7 days ago, and we criticised about performance and all the rest of it. Now, to be completely clear here, that isn't going to happen tonight. And had we known what we now know that came out on Monday about that, I think both me and you would have been a little bit more understanding surrounding sort of the performance that we saw in the first half, the second half, and all the rest of it, because they knew this. They knew this when they were travelling to the game on Friday. They knew this. Nicest will in the world. I wouldn't have gone.
I know.
Like, we have heard this before. Players refusing to travel to an away game. QPR away 2021. Players refused to get on the coach until they had been paid. We are 4 years down the road at exactly the same time point. March, April, May, June was the 2021 unpaid wages or partial player wages. Now, I know people would, the chairman has used the excuse of COVID for this.
Are we still there? COVID.
No, but that didn't happen with any other club. That didn't happen with any other club. At that time, it was us who was in the mire. It was us. And that was during and around a relegation battle. If you think the way to motivate your employees, remove the human aspect from it for a second, because we've talked about how disgusting and degrading it is. If you are just talking about employees of your business and you need to motivate them, I think the way to do that is not pay them. Just absolutely scandalous. Well, and then to top it all off, that comment that you've just talked about there, you can even see the Reading example. It as you can tell, James, as I said right at the top, I'm angry.
Yeah, I knew it'd come out, Matt. I knew it would come out, and I just want to highlight this one. It kind of segues into the next point I'm going to make. Massive opportunity yesterday to come together as a fan base and unite together and make our voices heard. And it was pretty much silent for the entire 90 minutes. Spineless is what Hawley says. We had obviously we asked for questions as well, what people wanted to talk about. One that got put on quite a few times is kind of why wasn't there much of a protest yesterday? Now, I know there was something circulating around about I don't know, going to go into the under the south stand at 12 o'clock. I don't know whether they thought it were a 12:30 kickoff or not, but 12 o'clock was a little bit early. But by all accounts, nothing really happened. I don't know who it was that was sharing it around. It looked like some sort of Facebook Messenger chat that was screenshotted and it was being sent around for certainly what I saw. And I'm not going to lie, I did expect there to be a little bit more of an atmosphere in terms of chanting towards the chairman, telling him that he's got to go. But there wasn't a lot. There was a little bit in the first 5 minutes, a little bit of a chant. I know the cop tried to get something going a few times, and then there was a point where I think there was a Hull player down injured in the second half, and there was a couple of chants that were going round. Of course, it wasn't for everything that's been happening online. There wasn't much in the ground. Now, I'm only going to put that down to, well, there's a couple of things. One, I don't think everyone saw kind of the interview that that Chansiri did on the Friday, which I think angered quite a lot of people. Certainly angered me as well, even more angry than we were from Monday. But again, a lot of people go. I think we forget that a lot of people go to games and that's all they do. They're not on Twitter. They're not on Facebook. They're not on all these social media platforms. They just, I'm sure you'd have seen it even if you're not, but maybe they didn't. And also as well, the weather was great. We still, believe it or not, we still had a chance of getting in the playoffs. As much as you might want to say, we didn't, our team's not good enough, all this rah, for everyone as a supporter of Sheffield Wednesday, going to that game yesterday, we did, had we have won the game, we might have had a slim, kept that slim chance alive. And there's that whole back the team, not the regime. I mean, I think we did neither, I think, yesterday, to be honest. Yep. I think the atmosphere was very, very flat. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've even had people coming on, saying that we should start something and things. And, I don't know. Maybe we should. Maybe we shouldn't. I don't know. The other thing as well is that the supporters groups up until, when was it? Up until the morning, really, of the game, was still kind of behind Chansiri. Certainly from a outside looking in perspective. They were still, wanting clarification on things and stuff like that. It only took until the morning of the game for them to kind of ask for Chansiri to leave as well. So it's not much. I don't know. It's not much time, is it, for all that news to kind of filter in, really?
No, I think, James, I think that's been symptomatic of this week. There has been news, what feels like breaking every single day surrounding this situation. For anybody who's not watched Chef Cam's recent video on it, I think he had it right, because there was a lot of stuff surrounding kind of like this discussion of the word apathy yesterday. And I actually disagree with the term apathy for what it was yesterday. It's been a lot of that for the last 4 years. It actually felt yesterday like it was a helpless situation with everybody just being sat in the sunshine. And again, this is only my opinion. My reading of the situation was the silent majority of people who have actually been quite vocal in asking people to lay off him, or I'm not saying everybody within this, but we've heard a number of reports of kind of like people having quite heated verbal arguments and some incidents of kind of like physical aggression towards people who have been actually quite vocal in kind of like wanting the chairman out in recent years. That majority has been swayed, so to speak. Like, they are now in they're in a particular another camp. They knew he was bad, but could kind of avoid it and kind of ignore it, or whatever turn of phrase you'd like to use, depending on how harsh you want to be. Honestly, it felt yesterday like most people didn't know what to do, and they're awaiting some sort of direction. Some have chosen to stay away from games. I've seen an awful lot of posts today and conversations going on between people saying, do you know what, I just don't have anything that makes me want to go to the football anymore. I've requested refunds on season tickets. I've done this. And if that is the form of protest that those individuals want to take, then more power to them.
So just on that, Matt, that just saddens me. That as
100%.
When people, because I love football. I watch any game of football. You know, obviously I love Sheffield Wednesday, and I look forward to it, believe it or not. You know, throughout the week, I'm looking forward to the game at the weekend, whether I'm going or not, when I'm watching it on TV, whatever I'm doing, I'm looking forward to seeing what we can do. And, you know, even if they're losing every week, even last season, you know, when Cisco Munoz is in charge, because you're always thinking and hoping that the tide's going to turn and it's going to get better. And you're going to see, you know, you want to be there when you win that game, or you want to be there for those moments and stuff. And, you know, luckily for us, we have had them sorts of moments in recent years. But, you know, that's what a lot of people live for, is for going to the match. Quite a lot of the times, like, the football is just something that kind of gets in the way. You know, they go have the beers with the mates and stuff, or they walk down, or it's just even to a bit of a lot of people saying it's a release. It's a release from work or family life. And, you know, people go with the mates rather than with the family. There's loads of things that football does, and it means so much to so many people. But for people to come out and say, I'm not going. I mean, there was someone that said, if it was in the Patreon group, who said, he's told his 17-year-old daughter, like, we're not going next season. Like, I'm not taking you to the football anymore. And she kind of like just understood it and what have you. But, you know, he said, I'm not giving Chansiri any more money again. And I look at it, I think, like, how have we got to this stage where people just don't? I mean, we're mid-table in the Championship. Do you know what I mean? That is the other thing. It's not down to the football that we're playing or anything like that. It's literally down to the way that the football club has been run and how people feel like they've been let down and totally mistreated by the man at the top.
I think the reason why it's been accelerated is not just this past week. It's because of the actions since, I mean, go back to the summer. We tie down arguably the most exciting manager in the division to a long-term 3-year deal, and then basically say to him, yeah, you've got no budget. That immediately gets people's backs up, including the manager. The team, the manager, start performing outstandingly towards the December period of time, and then everybody falls out. And again, your appetite's kind of crushed for it, leaving the last, week or so, 2 weeks of the window, kind of scrabbling around, trying to find players. Ultimately, we make some okay signings, but they're all frees and loans. Again, because why would we ever pay a fee for a player? Because we can't. It then comes to the past couple of weeks where there has been sort of like, we're still in with a chance of the playoffs and blah, blah, blah. I mean, if you ever wanted a metaphor for what it felt like to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan this past week, everybody will have seen the video. Watch Danny walking off the pitch yesterday. He just symbolised everything that it feels to be a Sheffield Wednesday fan. And he is at the centre of why I personally am so angry with everything that has gone on. Because this is in my opinion, the best manager that we have had since dropping out of the Premier League.
Yeah,
this is the opportunity that this football club had. And I'm not just saying it had to be this season. It would have been nice if it was this season, but this is the opportunity to take that chance. And ultimately, he has been let down again, like every other manager before him, by the person at the top. And people have had enough. I've just starred one of the comments just further up, James, here. I'm just going to go back to it. It's this one from Big Artie Show, which says, we're just dazed as a fan base, like a beaten journeyman boxer. Because we had, just going back to that original point that we were talking about, James, about kind of like fan stuff yesterday, we've had very mobile and active protests attempt to be organised. And nicest will in the world to the lads who organised it. They tried their hardest, but there just wasn't an appetite for it.
Well, it leads you on to this one. Lee said it to say it might take a 3-window ban or Danny Rohl walking away when he does to shock the fan base into protest.
Yeah.
Hate to say it. Yeah, yeah.
Go, James. Finish.
Yeah, I do agree with that. And do you know what? I've always said it's going to be a long process in terms of trying to get the chairman out. Like we've seen that he's far too stubborn. Now, you know, I think he was clinging on to the fact that he did have some supporters, and you know he had the supporters group that were sat round the table, which by and large didn't really criticise him publicly. I don't know what they said behind the scenes and to each other and stuff, but certainly publicly there wasn't much criticism, and certainly shot some of it down and stuff like that. Now they've come out now and they have actually criticised him. They've asked him to leave. They've asked him to walk away. They've asked him to put the club up for sale and move on. Well, they've certainly agreed with the statement that the Sheffield Wednesday Trust have put out, which, by the way, they've been let on the engagement panel. They've not even had a meeting yet, and they're already trying to do stuff, which is probably what we needed. But I think that, there's another comment here by Cole. I honestly think it's a case of people not knowing what to do. We're waiting for some direction or movement to follow or join. I think a lot of things have happened really, really quickly, and I think the problem with the 1867 group is they were firing from the hip a lot. I feel they'll probably say that they did plan certain things, and a lot of planning did take place. But a lot of it was born on raw emotion. And there's certain people out there that, rather than just kind of looking at the bigger picture, they like drilled into things like, really, why have they not got why do we not know who you are? Yeah. Like, does it really fucking matter who they were?
No.
Just get behind it. Just get behind the message. If you agree with the message, get behind it and follow it. And they didn't. And then it was almost like uncool to then be kind of associated with that group. The message just got totally lost. And it was more about who they were and the agenda, as opposed to actually what the bigger picture was, which was trying to get the chairman to get out of the football club.
Sorry to jump in there, James, because I know you were on a roll there. The reason why I think, and that exact scenario that you've just been describing, actively mobile and passionate fans wanting the best for this football club, which I don't care what side of the fence that you were sat on at the point, it was very obvious that the lads cared about that football club, and anybody involved in the protest agreed. Whether you agreed with the protest, the manner in which they went about it, or anything like that, that's up for you. But you can't deny that those individuals care about this football club anywhere near as much as the next person. That division amongst fans and that infighting amongst fans is the chairman's legacy. That is what his legacy is. He has done a fantastic job at that. And we have been saying this I have been sat on this pod since the summer of last year. Lads who were on the pod beforehand, they all said the same. You have been saying the same the entire way through. His legacy is defined by a divided and fractured fan base. And this week, he hasn't got that. He has not got that. All of those supporters groups who sit on the engagement panel have come out and at the bare minimum questioned what is the plan. The further end of that spectrum, which a lot of supporters groups released statements yesterday, sell this football club. That wasn't a very, very effective barrier. A very effective barrier. If you think about, say for argument's sake, we've mentioned a particular Facebook group tonight. There are 30,000 members in that Facebook group. A couple of weeks ago, we learned that there were posts being removed that were surrounding discussions of the chairman's running of the football club. I don't think I'm talking out of turn here, or I'm definitely not aiming I'm not trying to fire shots at them, because I genuinely believe that those people will have believed that they are acting in the best interest of themselves, the supporters that they represent, and for the football club. Genuinely. I'm not trying to be harsh here. But the way this has accelerated this week, I am so delighted to see so many of those organisations asking the questions that people have been screaming about for so long.
And I just want to say as well, like, we can go back and go, these should have done this, these should have done that. Well, I'm a firm believer of you can't go back and fix what's happened already or not happened.
No,
all you can do is move forward. And at this point, it seems like everyone has come together in some sort of form, and all kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, in that the vast majority want the chairman to go. Let's use that and just move forward with it. Like I said, let's not try and score points against each other and they should have done this and whatever else. Forget about it. Forget about what's happened before. Everyone seems to be united now, together on the same message that the chairman needs to go. And let's just see what happens. Something quite big's happening in the next 24 hours. Fast forward to 8:45 tomorrow, we'll probably find out whether we're on the EFL website on that embargoes page or not. So, again, that's another thing, another fast-moving part that's going to change the landscape again.
And as you say, James, that response in the next 24 hours before making a judgment on it is fair enough, but do not let the chairman off the hook for this. Let him. But we as a fan base have let him off the hook before for this.
Yeah,
I am very much subscription, like subscribing to this school of thought that he will not go willingly. We all know that by now, despite the ridiculousness of the statements he's been making to fans on LinkedIn today. You can question the validity of that. I ended up messaging one of the lads who has been messaging him. Nicest will in the world. If you are as inclined as I was to do so, please feel free to message him. It will send you the full transcripts of everything that's going on. It is bonkers, and it is when you read the messages that fans have been sending. And am I suggesting that people should all go and rush to that LinkedIn and do it? No, of course I'm not. Please don't do that. Like that's just giving more ammunition to fuel this fire of everybody hates me and blah blah blah. But I am saying that the messages that were sent, okay, you could argue they could be a little bit more formal in perhaps their approach, and you could maybe approach it from a business email. But let's not kid ourselves here. It's
coming out of emotion, though, Matt. Everyone's. This is how passionate we are as fans, and everyone else is. Like this, we're not. It's not just another business. It's not your. I always go to trainers, don't I? It's not your favourite trainer brand going out of business. Just buy some other ones. Like it's the football club that everyone loves. Yeah. I'm not saying the club's going to go out of business or not, but we want to see it doing well. And you know what? I'm even at the point. I don't think anyone really cares about the club doing well right at the moment. They just want things to be better, just be run better than what it is at the moment. We shouldn't be. I saw a picture and it said like chicken stock, beef stock. They had a picture of an owl laughing stock, and that's what we are at the moment. We're just a bit of a joke.
No, but it's true. It's true. Again, James, we've been saying it for a number of months on here. Nicest will in the world. I know there's a lot of people watching this, and thank you so much for everybody who is in the chat, kind of like keeping conversations going between yourselves and all the rest of it, and for people who've like given comments for us to kind of highlight. I mean this nicely. This is the last thing I want to be talking about on a Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I want to be talking about the game. I want to be talking about looking forward to next year now that the playoffs are gone. I want to be talking about the youth players that we need to be bringing in.
Yeah, Will Granger scored a great goal. Keelan Kadamatra, fantastic. Shrugged the guy off.
The body? Oh,
yeah,
my God,
squared it across.
Bodied him.
Great finish. That's what I want to be talking about.
Yeah,
and about Io for not picking his man up.
Yeah,
we might get on that in a bit. But
but at this point in time, James, if me and you were sat on a platform and we're not talking about this, anybody who listens to us, we are doing you a disservice. Like legitimately, because this is all anybody is talking about Sheffield Wednesday related.
I'm drained, Matt. I'm mentally drained this week. It's consumed like every single minute of the week just by how fast moving pace the conversations have been going, the different various reports and statements and everything else. It's literally every single day, that we've had emergency show on Monday after it came out, then the debate show on Wednesday as well, and just constantly talking about. Yesterday, I was talking. Someone approached me when I was in the North Stand waiting before kickoff and stuff. I forget. Apologies. I did ask you for what your name was, but I am shit with names. Sorry, I do apologise. But I had a great chat with him for 10 or 15 minutes about this same subject again. He was obviously speaking very passionate about it as well. So, it's just taken up so much time. Big Artie Shaw said, all we want is stability, not chaos. And I agree. Really do agree.
While we're there, James, on things that we'll agree with, I agree with this. Charlie Baker's. I hope it's not the Charlie Baker. My God, if it is, congratulations, sir. Thank you for joining in. I'm afraid things will get worse before it starts to get better. And that is very much where I sit. So when I go back to that point at the top, and I know if anybody that is kind of like listening to this post the kind of like live show, hopefully kind of like the messaging has come across surrounding when I am talking about not paying people their wages. I'm not talking about it from the human aspect. And much of what we've discussed over the last, 50 minutes of just how poor this ownership is.
Matt, will my cameras hold up? That's the question.
Not a fucking chance. But it is coming from that perspective of we are looking at this now as kind of like as a fan base, like the amount you mentioned conversations that I had yesterday. Again, exactly the same, James. I had a load of conversations with people yesterday, and everybody's trying to figure out what the end game is to this. Like, what is the end game? What is the plan? What is the thing moving forward? Because as Simon rightly said on the, we were talking about all the, not the content that we've just produced this week, but every single day there has been a BBC Radio Sheffield interview or an Alex Miller article coming out. What is the end game to this? Like, what is the point to all of this? Because we all know this manager is leaving at the end of the year. There's no ifs or buts about it. And if you don't pay him, you're making that decision for him. Like, Southampton today confirmed relegation. We've heard reports this week of Leicester being interested in the manager. I would be amazed if there isn't a certain club about 40, 45 minutes up the road from Sheffield. They play in white, who aren't interested in our manager as well. There are going to be a number of clubs after our manager seeing
RB Leipzig. RB Leipzig looking for a manager, and his name, there was an article, a German article, his name was
Sky Sports, that wasn't it? It was Sky Sports, that.
Third in the list. I mean, I don't think it was in the list of that importance, but it was on the list. They were talking about him and as a potential manager to go there, which, I mean, not being funny, would snap snap hands off if they were to offer him a deal. Back to his own country, back to a club that he kind of knows as well, as being the head guy there. Yeah, of course he's going to take that. I mean, we thought he were going before he didn't get paid. He's not got paid now. He's not going to stay, is he? Like, you saw him yesterday. He did look a broken man. It's that image when he's just got his head down, walking across the pitch by himself.
Whoever the hell took that photo, by the way, that's in front of the away end, where he's walking in front of the North. What a I mean, it's a horrible, horrible, gut-wrenching photo, but what a photo that is. Whoever took that photo, genuinely, absolutely outstanding.
I think it was Owls Online. I think it was
unbelievable.
Took it from the cop. Yeah, great photo, definitely. But just paints a sad picture, doesn't it? It really does paint. You could just see exactly what he's feeling, and the fact that he has to field all these questions every single time that the journalists speak to him, pre-match, post-match, all the time, like just about. Do you know what I mean? Fair play to him for actually, talking about it and actually giving some sort of answer, because I would have just said no comment. I'd have just said, it's not my job to answer those questions. I'm here to talk about the match, and as much as that's not what we want as fans and stuff, I wouldn't have the appetite for talking about that shit. Do you know what I mean?
Now, you see, James, this is where I think two things that come out from him making comments on this. One, obviously, he's pressed, and for people people seem to be getting very angry at journalists for asking him that question. Well, who else are journalists meant to ask? Because the club don't produce anybody. Our communications director, I haven't seen since January. So who on earth are they supposed to ask? They're going to ask the person who sat in front of them. So please come off your high horse about that. Anybody who was getting really frustrated at the manager having to answer questions about this. If the manager was here next year, he would have batted those questions away. If he was going to be here long term, he'd have gone, I'll be honest with you, you need to contact the club for a statement. I am just focused on this, and then I'm focused on the remaining 6 games and then looking towards the pre-season. He has been hung out to dry by this chairman in this respect, alongside many others. But this was by design. This is on purpose. Do that, because if you're the chairman and you are looking to create a power play and you are looking to shove a manager under a bus, how do you do it? You can go out and field that. Because I thought it was very, very telling as well that we put no players forward. We put no players forward. Understandable, like very, very understandable, but we put no players forward for this. Absolutely none. And we have left the manager hung out to dry on this issue, because what should have happened, again, at a well-run club, if they haven't paid the wages, is that the head of communication should have been sat next to him and said, any questions surrounding player wages can be directed to myself. The manager is here just to talk about football. It's not a united front behind the scenes, and we have known that for a long time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Let's just quickly talk about those statements then, because a private meeting between the engagement panel, of which I didn't realise there's 13 groups in that engagement panel. I did not know there was that many.
It's a big table.
The club were invited, but they declined to come prior to the meeting. By the way, I know some got that wrong a little bit. They were supposed. We thought they were supposed to turn up, but they didn't. No, it wasn't. They were invited, but they declined. So the supporters groups came together and then kind of put out a joint statement, just saying how they wanted to know what the plan was, and they wanted clarity on whether whether Chansiri's got the funds and things like that. And then, yeah, that kind of escalated after that. After that interview that Alex Miller did. Just by the way, he declined to have an interview with Radio Sheffield. Like, declined an audio interview, but he would have obviously had I think it was via Zoom or whatever they used. But obviously it was in the written media as opposed to out on Radio Sheffield. But yeah, after that, the engagement panel, or the trust along with the engagement panel, came out with a statement, which not all supporters groups had posted out. I just think Armed Forces did, the Trust did. I think the Women's Supporters Group just shared the statement from the Trust. Yeah. But it reads, or the ending reads, the Trust and EP call on Dejphon Chansiri to do the right and honourable thing as custodian of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club and step aside. We urge him to engage with potential purchasers to determine a fair market value for the club. Much stronger wording than the initial one. And like I said before, the house is now starting to fall. And as I mentioned before, it's great that everyone's now coming together. And I think it's I said last week, is this the beginning of the end? I really do feel like we are moving into that sort of realm. How long it's going to take, I have no idea. But we're certainly a lot further forward than what we've been in recent weeks and months, aren't we?
Agree. I think it's absolutely fantastic that supporters groups, from the Trust to the Rainbow Owls to Armed Forces to the Women's Supporters Group, appear to now all be aligned in their messaging towards the club. People's views on the original statements are their business. In terms of, you are more than welcome to hold your own views on it. But again, this is massive progress from where we were just 7 days ago. For somebody who is not on the engagement panel, as I don't think I'm speaking out of turn here, many fans have given a lot of stick to many of the groups on the engagement panel for not asking the quote-unquote right questions. You need to give praise and flowers where they're due, because every single one of them has stepped up this week. Yeah. Much of the anger towards those groups has been severely misplaced, in my opinion, and is rooted in one common thing, that 95 to 99% of Sheffield Wednesday fans want this chairman to sell the club. And the only people, again, when we were talking about people being hung out to dry, who are forward-facing in this, are those supporters groups, are the managers, are the players. It's never the club. It's never the owner who comes out and faces the music. And we need to stop having a go at one another and picking holes in everything that one another says. The scrutiny now has to be firmly levelled at the club. And the silence currently is absolutely deafening. And the longer we spend infighting with one another, the more we let the owner off the hook.
That's it. Do you know, when everyone's kind of criticising every single move that every fan or supporters group or podcast or whatever it is that they do, that's not going to encourage people to do the next thing. Everyone's looking at what happened with 1867 Group and the abuse that they got, and who's really that will have put people off from putting their head above the parapet again. Yep. I mean, I know all these things have happened previously, or since, should I say, which has angered a lot of people. So maybe there is more of an appetite now. But still, that shouldn't happen. If you don't agree with it, have a decent conversation and a debate about it, or put your point across. You don't need to start getting personal and all this other stuff and slagging people off all the time and constantly bringing people down. Let's just have an honest conversation. And you know what? Some things happen in life that you don't really want to happen. Like, for example, if you did, if you do like Chansiri, but you know what? There's a lot more people that don't, and hate is a strong word, but there's a lot of people that hate him as well. And, look, some things happen, like I said, and you just have to just see it happen, see it out. And
also, James, just on that there, where you were talking about kind of hate, don't get me wrong, I don't hate the chairman. I hate his running of this football club. I don't hate him as a person. I don't know him. I've never met him. I've never spoken to him, much like 95% of Sheffield Wednesday fans who go to the game or support them. But they can hate the actions. They can hate what this football club now currently stands for, because this isn't like a 6-month thing. This is 10 years. This is what Sheffield Wednesday Football Club is. We are a non-tax-paying, non-payer playing, hanging managers out to dry football club who treats its fans and away supporters appallingly. That's what we are currently. under this ownership. You can hate everything about that because the person whose name is on top of the door has been in charge of this for over 10 years now, and nothing has changed. If anything, it's gotten worse.
Yeah, I can't deny anything that you've said. They can't disagree with anything, which is really, really, really sad. Chef Cam's in the chat. Great to see you, Chef Cam. I've already shouted you out earlier. So yeah, if you've not watched his video, do go and do that in about half an hour. Just stay with us for the next half an hour though first.
Yeah, it's a really upbeat. It's another upbeat one. You'll go to bed really happy.
Yeah, maybe wait till in the morning if you're really angry. But one thing for certain, don't miss it. He says thing that concerned me about his interview more than the money side was the laid back, it'll be all right attitude, which has left me thinking he's got zero intention of going anywhere. Yeah, I really hope you're wrong, Chef.
Sorry, James. I am just going to highlight this because it goes well with a comment that I saw earlier. This is from Gavin O'Farrell from the other side of the city. I hope you get your club back. It's awful, the situation you're in. There is nothing. I mean this very nicely, Gavin. Thank you so much for the comment, and also thank you very much for tuning in. There is nothing worse than not hearing ribbing from your neighbours and them taking sympathy on you and pity on you. Yeah, that gives you an idea of how shit this situation is.
It's the ultimate humiliation, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That they're feeling sorry for us in the situation that we're in. I've had my cousin, Jordan, who goes on the other, one of those podcasts down the road, him saying, quite often messages says, like, how are you even putting up with the owner? Like, how are people still defending him? He sent me the screenshots of the LinkedIn messages that he's obviously seen on the socials and stuff. He's like, is this really your owner? Is this really what he's doing?
Yeah.
Like, it's mad. Also, as well, by the way, if they're not real, he's got the little gold LinkedIn badge thing. So if it's not real, if it's really a fake person, they've really invested into it because they're paying for LinkedIn as well to do all this. So fair play if they are.
I've just highlighted Brian's here, which he's also clearly from the other side of the city, saying, "Sorry lads, we're just trying to help." And this is much better, Gavin. This is where I like to sit. In that case, thanks for the 6 points then.
Yeah, great stuff. Should we talk about Hull?
I was just going to say, can I just wrap it up, James? Here in this
yes,
idea,
mate, wrap it up.
He's got to go sort of section of the last hour and 2 minutes. I think everybody for the last 7 months, most people have been fairly consistent in their messaging, either in person, independently, or whatever. Ignore all of that and shelve all of that now. The chairman is not fit to run or fund this football club. We as a fan base have tried to be diplomatic. We've tried to be fair. We've tried to be balanced. We've tried to ask for a plan. We've tried to give praise and credit where it's due. The evidence is now insurmountable, and it has been since the breakdown in the relationship with the best manager this club has had since dropping out of the Premier League in December. Sell, move on, leave, and please, for everybody involved, including yourself and your family, never darken this corner of the world again. At Chansiri, who supposedly was watching this earlier, which, my goodness me, I don't know what time it must be where he is currently. And those members of your family who have grown up with this football club and are genuine Sheffield Wednesday supporters, because they are, because he has been a Sheffield Wednesday supporter since a 10-year-old boy, I really hope would come back and watch a game in the future, as I personally hold no grudges towards them. But this ownership has run its course. Sell the club.
Yeah. No true words said, Matt. Yeah, definitely. Do certainly agree. Let's just not let him off the hook. If indeed he tries to get let off the hook, let's just keep the momentum up, really, and just keep it going. Let's stop the infighting. Let's just try and work together, really. Yeah. And on the back of the shirt, it has those 5 letters: WAWAW. Let's just stick to that, because there's been times in the past weeks, months, years, whatever, where that message doesn't really mean anything, but it should. And now, really, Hull. Yesterday, there was a football match.
Anyway, starting 11. Playoffs are done. Starting 11, 94th minute goal. No one gives a shit.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Anyway, do you know what? Let's talk about the match. Let's talk about it. starting 11, as you've just rightly mentioned, Pierce Charles in goal, Valentin Ihekwe, Fuming, Johnson, Shea Charles, Bannon, Ingleson, Windass, Kasama and Smith. I feel like I've just read out more than 11 players there, but I think that is the lineup. 5 changes. Fuming, Johnson, Shea Charles, Ingleson and Smith all came in. Iofa, Hatsuse, Shalabar, Patterson and Lowe all dropped to the bench. And that's enough about the match, as Wickerman says. Pierce Charles was great. The header was a sucker punch, and we walked away with his lips dragging on the floor. But yeah, what was your thoughts on that lineup? Because for me, I saw it, I was pretty happy. 5 changes. It's a lot, but I think most of them were warranted. Hatsuse didn't have a great time. In the last time out against Cardiff. For me, at the back, I think yes, it was great before he got injured. Why not? Why not just put him straight back in there? Don't mind that at all. All in all, Shea Charles had to come back in. Really, you can't not play him. I was really happy with the lineup. I didn't think you could do much wrong with it. To be fair, one of the strongest lineups we could have possibly put out. To be honest,
absolutely delighted for Akinfenwa. Genuinely, absolutely delighted for Akinfenwa coming back in and starting a football match after what must have been not only a horrendous week for all of those players who played yesterday and the subs who were on the bench and those who weren't even in and around the excuse me, those who weren't even in and around the match day squad yesterday. But I was in particularly delighted for him because he has an awful long time out, as we spoke about in his time at Sheffield Wednesday in the 3 years with his contract, obviously, sadly, coming up in the summer. Remove all of the stuff surrounding whether we can afford to re-sign players. That's for another day while we're talking about this. I was delighted to see him. And I thought whilst he was on the pitch, I thought he was outstanding yesterday. Pierce Charles as well. I've said my piece on James Beadle last week in terms of I thought that we needed to move on from kind of like him, and I understood the reasons for him being dropped. I was delighted to see Pierce Charles retain that shirt. My only concern was actually when the game kicked off was where Svante Ingleson was lining up, because I think it was very evident to see after the first 10 minutes of kind of like some clunky passing. What we didn't see was a winger who was capable of running in behind, and I would have liked to have swapped him round with Josh Windass and seen Josh Windass in a wider position, Svante Ingleson in that kind of... You don't want to say a 10 because we don't play a 10, do we? We haven't played a 10 all season. We play a very sort of like fluid midfield. Let's describe it like that. God, I can't wait to go back to 4-4-2 next year.
I just want to, Adam's just given us a super chat. Adam, thanks for your support, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Do really appreciate it as always. Patreon's cheaper, by the way, Adam. Just saying.
Great, appreciate it, mate.
But thanks, mate. Do appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny actually because believe it or not, I had signal in the ground because you was sending messages to each other, which I thought was, what the fuck's happening here? But I can remember messaging you saying Ingleson's having a stinker. I'd not even noticed him at all, and then as soon as I messaged that, it kind of the one where Windass ran through and he put the ball across. It was a pretty poor ball, but it was a good play by Ingleson initially in the middle, and after that it was a bit like a man possessed in the kind of in the second half of the first half, if that makes sense. He was kind of every kind of move that we had and half chance that we created, he was kind of part of it and stuff. But yeah, I just want to go back to the Akinfenwa one. I didn't realise he'd only played 8 games this season, or 8 starts. Anyway, I thought he'd played more, but it was the Portsmouth game, weren't it, away? The game where Smith scored that absolute thunder bastard, which won't be the goal of the season.
No. Which is mental, mad, considering it started out in Southampton and bent back into the goal. It's mental that's not going to win goal of the season. Yeah,
but it was in that game where he got injured, and yeah, I just thought Akinfenwa was really solid. Just didn't really put a foot wrong. If to be fair, I thought the whole back, like, Paul Valentin had a stinker. Let's not beat around the bush. He had a really poor game, but I just felt like the whole back 4, back 5, if you do include Pierce Charles, looked solid. And Pierce Charles wants the ball all the time, doesn't he? He's constantly on the edge of his box or even further out, wants it. He's always putting his hand up, pass it to me. And to be fair, they did pass it to him quite a lot. And the passing as well. That he like. There was one. He came tear-arsing out of his box, which, by the way, is much better at coming off his line than what James Beadle is. He's far more alert. Certainly, from what we've seen of the small sample size. But there's one where he comes steaming out, and all for the world. If this were me, it's going Rose Ed. I'm just booting it as far as I could. But then he came steaming out and then had the audacity to then just play a little side-footed pass to, I think it was Iorfa who was coming back. And then he turned, and then the move started. And I thought that just shows how cool and calm he is. And we can say everything about his height. By the way, there is Premier League goalkeepers that are at 6 foot as well, so it's not an unheard of thing. Yes, you would like 6'8" or whatever James Beadle is in goal, Mr. Octopus, but or Mr. Tickle, as people have coined him. But I think that his passing out from the back, how comfortable he's on the ball, probably far outweighs the kind of negatives of him being a slightly smaller goalkeeper, if you know what I mean. You're gonna use those attributes in the modern game of football far more than what you are his kind of shot saving ability. His shot saving ability is not poor, by the way.
No, as we saw in the first half with a point blank save from what was it, just 7 yards out. I know it was close to him. It's a great save, palms it, strong hands, straight out. He's a fantastic keeper. We've seen the evidence of that in the last 2 games. Has he had much to do? No, because in situations where they could have got away from him not coming off his line quick enough, him not being out to collect or claim a ball when a cross comes in, he's just done it and just mopped it up. The goal yesterday and the goal last weekend, he could do nothing about. Both of them have gone in off the upright. They are 2 very, very different goals. 2 very, very different goals. The goal yesterday, I mean, granted it's 94th minute and it capped off a properly shit week for Sheffield Wednesday. If you were, again, looking for a metaphor, Danny marching about after that goal, what if I see a better header this season on any club's highlights, please show it me. Because that was an outstanding goal. Can do nothing about it. But up until that point, Pierce Charles had been exceptional. Just going back to Akinfenmewo, James. I actually thought with Akinfenmewo, the biggest compliment that I could pay him yesterday is you didn't notice Max Lowe was missing.
Yeah. He just slotted in, didn't he? He just slotted in and just did a job. Yep. And that's what you want from your defenders. You don't want them to be kind of you don't really want to be talking about him. I mean this in the nicest way in the world. Just do your job. Just defend. Yeah. And, start the attacks off. You don't need to be this hero going on a marauding run. Just put your tackles in, win your headers, and And I thought he did that a plum. He put some good tackles in there, broke the play up well, just didn't make any mistakes, didn't look rusty either. That's the other thing. It didn't look like he'd just been thrown in and had 10 minutes in the Cardiff game at the end.
Of the 2, I thought it was Michael Hekra who was going to come off for Dominic Iorfa because he was stretching out with cramp from about 60 minutes onwards. I honestly thought that we'd have left him on just because of how calm and composed he was over the course of the game yesterday. But again, I'm aware that Danny's. I say trying to look at the big picture. I'm trying not to cry here. Danny's still looking at those next 6 games. Would I expect the same team to be there on Tuesday? No. God, no. Would I expect Keelan Cole Kadamatri to lead the line? Of course I would. 14, 15 years old. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, I thought he had an excellent game yesterday. When you were talking about that backline stability, I thought he was so good yesterday. Him and Michael Hekwa, to be fair. It made up for the 2 wider players yesterday. And the thing that I'm not going to touch on it any more than that, because the players have been through a hell of a lot this week. And this has clearly been a rough week for all involved, including manager and coaching staff.
Yeah, no, joking aside though, when you've got the young players like that, those that look like they are going to kind of make it, Will Granger, another one, although I know there's been rumours that he might be leaving and going off or whatever, but the away games, they should be kind of travelling with the squad, not even in the squad, but just travelling, even especially if they're kind of staying over as well. I don't know if there's anything to do with ages and stuff like that, whether they can't because of their age. I've no idea. I haven't got a clue. But
GCSE's coming up in a couple of weeks, James. Get them sat first.
Yeah, doing a few mock exams on the coach on the way down, doing a bit of revision. But
Sat with a sports scientist doing your biology homework. What a cheat that would be.
Yeah. But for me, like they need to be kind of integrated into all these things to make sure that they're ready. When it comes to it and stuff.
Yeah.
Wickerman said thought Shea Charles and Svante Ingolson played quite well in a dour game. Pierce Charles is looking like a solid keeper for next season. Finally, reckon Gassama has been meh in the last couple of games. Yeah, I think he.
I think it's very difficult with Jeddy Gassama because I think he is naturally going to be a player who blows a little bit hot and cold. I actually thought yesterday he was one positive in the first 20 minutes for us because there was that turn that he did in front of the north stand where the ball came into him. And normally you see Jeddy Gassama get the ball under control, then look to run around it, square up his man and beat him. And he actually just nicked the ball straight round the player and just ran away from him.
Yeah. Then number six, he had him on toast. The problem was he's one of the touches that Gassama had. He kind of took him wide, and then their defender just cut the corner off. Do you know what I mean? And then caught him up as he tried to cut inside the box and stuff. A better touch would have been to. Yeah, come more central. Do you know what I mean? And try and go a bit more direct to goal. I don't know what. I don't know if it was just a bad touch or whether he meant to go outside or a confidence thing. I've no idea. But yeah, it was. And I didn't have him as a. I think the whole there wasn't many players that had a good game at all yesterday. I don't feel like everyone was kind of. There were a lot of. I didn't see what Alex Miller had as his ratings, but for me there were a lot of 5s and 6s. More 5s than 6s, to be honest. It was just a bit of a flat game, really. Nobody really did a great deal.
I think the game played out much the way the season has done at home in terms of chances come and go, and then we're sucker punched. I think ultimately, I've been saying since the start of the season, if you can get to Easter and you're still within touching distance of the playoffs, we've fallen a week short of that. But ultimately, it's a good season to fall away where we have. We've covered it in the first hour, the lack of investment and the show going on at the top. I genuinely am looking forward to the remaining away games this year and backing the players and the manager. And they deserve everything that they get because anybody moaning about players yesterday, I mean this very nicely, and I'm not pointing to individuals here. Have a look at the atmosphere that was created by us yesterday and ask, do you think they felt backed and supported yesterday? I'd suggest not.
Yeah. Let's read this other super chat from SWFC. Hull was shit. Players didn't try. Atmosphere dead. Do you think Hull was shit? I think the first half, it did very much look like two poor teams. It actually looked like a poor team and a team that hadn't been paid. Yeah. To be fair, I think it was flat. I think the atmosphere. I thought it was going to be more raucous. I thought it was going to be more. I don't know, getting behind the players, and I'm not sure what I was really expecting. It was just a bit flat. But I think the performance that first half, there wasn't a great deal of chances. I think Windass had a chance, didn't he? Was it a
header straight to the goalkeeper?
He had, yeah. He took it off Ingolson's toes as well, just before. Well, Ingolson's fresh aired it, but Windass has nicked it off him. I'm like, I kind of knew after that point. I'm like, this is how it's gonna pan out.
There was a lot of moments. Sorry, James. Sorry to cut you. There was a lot of moments in that first half where it was players just slightly out of step with one another. And Marvin Johnson came in for a lot of slack on the south stand. Just side note here, James. I'm going to put out a public plea here. Well, the person who keeps farting on the south stand, own up. Because yesterday, there was a bloke who sits behind... I'm sorry, it's one of those... My wife told me when I told this story today, she said, it sounds like one of those incidents where you have to be there. He takes medication, not supposed to drink, and he'd had a couple of Guinnesses before. He spent about 60 minutes of that with his eyes closed, fast asleep. Midway through the second half, you got this waft of like what had hit somebody. This was the most noise that was made on the south stand yesterday, by the way. There was a waft of something that hit somebody, and he's got quite a high-pitched voice when he gets surprised. He's just gone, "Whoa, what the fuck is that?" like that. And I've turned round to have a look, and there's just 3 blokes, including me dad, sat there, coats up over the face like that, like muffled like that, pissing themselves laughing because this bloke's just been fast asleep. But when I say I make that ridiculous point to be very serious here. That was the most noise that I heard out of the South Stand. I know the South Stand's not very known for an atmosphere, but it was absolutely ridiculous yesterday. And yes, there was a lot of misplaced passes. There was a lot of kind of like players being out of step. But again, as I said at the top, I'm not going to give them any criticism for yesterday. And genuinely, I wish I could take back some of the things that were said last week. Had I known what I know now, I would have been a lot softer on everybody involved, just because of the fact of ultimately, if you didn't get paid going into work tomorrow, would you be putting in as much effort and would you be trying? And I'm not saying that they're not, because as you've rightly pointed out, Giles has sat here and said no football player steps over the white line and says, I'm not going to try. That's not the case, but that will have been eating away at them this week. That will have changed focus. That will have been topics of conversations in households. So I'm not going to give them any slack for. I'm not going to give them any criticism for that yesterday. Lee's right.
Lee just said that smell was probably Chansiri chatting his usual shit.
Quite possibly, it was as vile. I'll be honest, it was rancid.
Well, I had one at half time, Matt. I sit with my father-in-law, Steve, but next to him is a guy called Kevin, long-time listener of the podcast as well. Always have a chat with him and stuff. Anyway, it's half time, and Kev said to me, obviously we sat on the north stand, he's looking over to the south stand, and he goes, he says, who's that stripped off and ready to come on? And bear in mind, I think they're doing the 50-50 draw at this point, so we're not even 5 minutes into half time. It's like, who's that over there stripped off and ready to come on? He goes, it's number 18. I'm looking over, I'm thinking, like, what's he on about? And then I twigged what he was saying. Number 18. I said, that's Ozzy Al, mate.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm like, do you want to borrow these? Do you want to borrow my glasses? Can you not see that he's got the big brown head, brown legs,
the wings, the wings, and his head being about 50 times the size of everybody else's.
He said, "Oh yeah, I can see it now." Like, I mean, I know the first half were bad, but I didn't think we needed to bring Ozzy Owl on. Do you know what I mean?
Well, sorry, I'm just going to highlight this one's from Daz here as well. There was a terrible eggy smell on the top as well. There was also, what's its name? All of the drainage had gone on the cop. They'd turned the sprinklers on, and there was like a river created at the front of the cop. Oh God, what a mess! Anyway,
hey, actually,
what a header by Hull.
Do you know what? As well, the scoreboard as well. Because I was looking, thinking, these adverts going around quite a bit. I mean, to be fair, let's credit where credit's due. Maybe he sold some more advertising space, and he thought, in order to pay the players, I'm just going to have these adverts keep rolling around and charge them a little bit more extra money. But yeah, I'm thinking, I'm sure I've not seen team, because I normally like look at the whole team, and I'm like, oh yeah, who's playing and who's who, and normally he's that player that I've mentioned on preview show playing because he's probably going to score, which he didn't this week. Shock, but yeah, and then it finally sprung into life, and it was funny how they were going up on the time, like adding 10 seconds onto the time. I don't know if you saw that, because obviously your vantage point is kind of to your left, isn't it? Whereas for me, it's like, well, if I'm looking towards
Sorry, James. I know on that. I'd noticed that I think it was 36 minutes in the game hadn't kicked off yet because it was 0-0-0-0 on the clock. And then midway through to be fair, anybody who did look at the scoreboard midway through the second half would have known that was 5 minutes of injury time, because as of 66 minutes in, there was 5 minutes of injury time added. So the ref got the decision wrong, and the fourth official got the decision wrong of 6 minutes of injury time, because we all know it was 5 minutes because it was told to us. What a fucking shambles this fucking club is, like top to bottom. Oh my God.
To be fair, Kevin's watching. Kevin, who I shouted at, I said, James, the sprinklers blocked his head. How big are they? I mean, to be fair, looking at that puddle that they had on the cop, the sprinklers must have been absolutely massive. I don't think they're that big, Kevin. I'm not letting you off with that one. Just another one here. Just this one here from J-Bo, another super chat. Thank you very much. We had great build-up play, then kept shitting the bed in the final third. Pretty standard for this season so far. Yes, good in the middle. shit in both boxes is what we've been kind of peddling for much of this season.
Last one here from me, which was Platform 22, because good work within the football club deserves to be credited.
Yeah.
The groundsman and the ground staff who have come in have done a bloody good job.
It's amazing what you can do with a fly mower, isn't it?
Yeah, getting that pitch into the condition that it was in compared to where we were sat here, 3-4 weeks ago, and we were bemoaning the fact that this is like playing on Blackpool Beach or Scarborough Beach or wherever, because that was a good, from at least the vantage point that we had in the stands. Players may make a different argument, but from the vantage point that we had in the stands, it was green grass yesterday.
Yeah, I would say it looked a bit bobbly.
Yeah,
I said, but I don't think that's anything to do with what the ground staff have been doing. Because it did look a lot greener. It did look decent when you step out and looked at the pitch. So fair play. And the guy that comes from Man City, he looks busy all the time. Don't know if you've noticed him kind of pre-match and stuff. He's always doing something. He's not just kind of going through the motions. Good. He was attending the 6-yard box before kickoff, and he's putting the sprinklers on in the. I've not even seen the sprinklers in the corner before. I've never noticed them once.
Do you think he's just come in and just gone, hang on, what's this switch do? Oh shit!
Oh yeah, turned them on. Yeah. And maybe because we've only started using them since he's come in. Maybe he's looked and gone, no wonder your fucking grass is brown. You've not watered it.
That is some, and then someone sat there, some bright sparks gone.
Oh yeah.
Fucking honestly.
Yeah, but joking aside, it does look a lot better, and hopefully, we don't really seem to keep hold of groundsman at all. No. So whatever happens behind the scenes, hopefully he does stay for a little bit longer than what they usually do, because he's certainly doing a good job, definitely. Right, let me just read a few more comments out. At 90 minutes, I was taking the positives and looking forward to a celebratory clean sheet pint, and then the goal well and truly compounded our week. Lee, did you still have that pint though? I can't believe that you would have just not had one because you conceded a goal. Oh, what is a clean sheet pint? What is it? Is it different to a defeat pint? I don't know.
I was going to say a clean sheet pint. You must have been sober all year. Jesus Christ. But also, I mean, please turn that. I mean, just another name for a pint, isn't it? Really, like just clean sheet pint, conceded pint, lost pint. Like take your pick, really.
5-0 defeat pint must be a top shelf or something. Yeah, sure.
Managers leaving pint with chairman's a shit show.
No, that's plural. That one. Manager leaving is a session.
He's a vat.
Yes, definitely. Sarah, can we talk about the scoreboard yesterday? Yeah, we already talked about that, Sarah. It wasn't a scoreboard. It was just an advertising hoarding for much of the game. And it was still 0-0 at the end as well. Did you notice that? Still 0-0. I know they scored late, but anyway.
Again, just before we move on from it, fantastic header. Like again, James. Like I know I said this midway through. Genuinely a fantastic header, but compounded a really shit week for us. Just
quickly, before I do quickly talk about the next games coming up, we had a chance, didn't we? Windass had a decent chance. At the time, I'm like, he's got to do better with that. He's put it straight at the keeper. I don't think the keeper knew much about it. He's literally hit him. Yeah. I've watched it back. I think I'm doing Windass a disservice there. The movement from him was absolutely fantastic. To be fair, the whole move for that chance was really good. Smith as well, that little reverse pass for Johnson. Johnson puts the ball into that area, and if you watch as well, Windass is in between the two defenders, and he's waiting for his time, and then he gets out and gets in front of the man. I don't think really, if he gets a little bit less on it, maybe he can direct it into the corner. But I think he's just looking to get something on it, and he probably makes too much of a good connection on it. Really,
at times you have to say. That chance yesterday, it's a good piece of goalkeeping. We've seen some inspired goalkeeping performances at Hillsborough this year. I always go back to the Luton one. Inspired goalkeeping performance, same against Coventry. What's its name? The Windass header. That was the one where I thought he should have done maybe a little bit better because it is a free header. I know it comes to him and he has to generate a lot of the power on it, but yeah, possibly. And the keeper makes an outstanding save from Shea Charles, who runs clean through from the halfway line after a fantastic flick on for Callum Patterson, who was the only person who seemed to win a header yesterday against their centre halves. Flicks the ball on. Shea Charles is in. You can see how tired he is in running, because he normally runs away from people, and you can see him just going, oh, fuck, this is a long way. What a save. Full stretch and holds the ball. It's an outstanding save.
Yeah, it's kind of fallen to the wrong man, isn't it, really? I mean, I don't know who the right man would have been, but Pierce Charles, I know he did it against Coventry. I didn't really run from the halfway line there, but I know he scored against them at the CBS. But he's thinking like, it's just if that's a Gassama, and he would have been able to like just get away a little bit more. Do you know what I mean? Although he looked dead on his feet, to be honest. But yeah.
Just highlight this one from Wickerman as well. Let's not forget this, the Iorfa header right at the end too. Yeah, definitely. Right, then before we wrap up, Blackburn next on Tuesday night. The battle of the shit owners. El Crapio, but not for the managers. It'll just be, well, to be fair, it could be for their manager. Yeah. But certainly for the owners anyway. I think the trusts are trying to do some sort of like joint protest or something like that. So I've not seen a great deal on it. Hopefully some more news kind of comes out. So if you are heading over to Ewood Park, then do keep your nose to the ground on that one. Their form is shite. One draw and 5 defeats in the last 6. That's all the games that they've had under Valerian Ismail after John Eustace left because of Derby. 12th in the league at the moment. Yeah, El Deprecio. Yeah, I think that is that's the
that
best
is right.
one. Yeah, J-Boy's knackered. We've got
that. Good stuff. 12th in the league, just one place ahead of us, but level on points despite their terrible run that they're on. Blackburn wrote, we've got. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? Like, really? Do you want us to put out a changed 11? Put the kids out? Do you want it? What do you want us to do? Do you want us to go full strength and just have a gooder finish that we can possibly have?
That I would like. Nicest will in the world. Yes, I understand the calls for young players, and I think you can blood some of those players who have had less game time. The lesser cited Charlie McNeil being one, but for personal and professional pride, because currently the players aren't playing for a wage; they're playing for that. I think since we've been recording, I think Bannon's posted to Instagram with it's genuinely, I'm privileged to call these players like my teammates or something along those lines. Please don't quote me. Go and win the game. Go and win the game. Go and start getting some sort of positivity here, because at this point you are playing for personal and professional pride.
I don't know if you can see that there.
Can't read it, James. No, sorry.
Honoured to call these my teammates is what he said. It's just the huddle before the game on Saturday. I do agree, to be fair. He's not going to be here next season, is he, Danny? So there's no point in him giving the young lads a run out, really, at this stage. Just go out there. Let's see what can happen. Like I said, the landscape could change massively between now and Tuesday night. We'll find out whether we are under an embargo or not. Just on that as well, just quickly. I think his calculations are a little bit wrong. I can't get us to 30 days by Monday. There must have been something else. I'm sure HMRC was only 2 weeks. We're only a week in. Correct me if that's 21 days, not 30. But anyway, let's take the chairman's word for it. We'll find out sooner rather than later. Anyway, and then Oxford on Saturday, back to Hillsborough once again. The Will Volks derby. I think this obviously his first return at Hillsborough since he left in the summer. They're on slightly better form. 2 wins, 1 draw, 3 defeats. Huge win against them down the road at the weekend.
Did you see Will Volk celebrating in front of him as well? What a piece of fan footage. Sorry, Jimmy, Blades Ramble. Been absolutely done a kipper on that. If you'll ramp up your views from Sheffield Wednesday fans watching Will Volks run over and celebrate in front of them all. If you haven't gone out and seeked it out, please do. It's well worth it.
Yeah, because obviously they score in the empty end, don't they, though? The fence end, as they call it. And obviously the away fans are just off to the. If you're looking at the goal, you're just off to the right, aren't you? There in that side. So great stuff. Great. I love Will Volks. Do you know what? I wish that goal at Wembley would have stood. I know obviously scoring in the last minute was good enough, but That's the best goal that never was.
Yeah, it's a rocket.
Do you know what I mean?
Rocket.
He even pulled off the backflips and what have you.
Yeah, couldn't have looked. Sorry, Willie. If by some miracle this does get back to you, Will, couldn't have looked more like a knob because the flag had already gone up and he's backflipping away on the touchline.
Yeah, definitely. They've managed to pull themselves up.
Yeah.
A little bit after that win, 18, 4 points off the bottom three as it stands. They've got QPR in midweek before travelling to Sheffield at the weekend. They've only got one win on their travels, opposite to us. They are shit away from home. Their win came on New Year's Day. Well, funny enough, that's last time we won at home as well on New Year's Day. Against Millwall, their win came. Only Plymouth have got a worse away record, or Mileage FC, as we like to call them. And it's only Plymouth that have scored less goals away from home as well. 13 goals they've scored away from home this season, Oxford. Yeah, I mean, do you know what? We looked at all these fixtures. Oh, I've got an easy running. Do
you know what, James? I know. We're just gonna. This is gonna come full circle now. Had the players and the manager been given a good environment, there's a high likelihood we would still be within a chance. The environment that these players and this manager have had to operate in this past week have had a huge bearing on where these players and where this season has ultimately ended up. It's a really, really sad state of affairs. It's absolutely, I mean, for anybody who hasn't, go back and just listen to the first hour and just replay it. But it's a really, really sad state of affairs. I'm trying to scroll up the chat as we're talking here, James. I can't find it. I am really sorry to whoever it was that posted this. We've got a handful of games left, and I hope that the manager and this particular playing squad leave on a high. Go and get those results. Go and finish as high as you can. And if we end up we'll end up just missing out. Please just give us that, because they deserve it. They genuinely, for the efforts this season that this squad have put in, they deserve that. Like, they deserve a good end to this season and finishing on a high with a good couple of wins. Yeah,
totally agree with that. Let's just see what we can do. Let's just back the team to the end. Just want to kind of finish off by saying, by the time this, people might be watching this a little bit later, things might have changed, of course. But let's keep the pressure up on the chairman. Let's not let him get away with it. Let's not let apathy set in. Let's stop the infighting between fans. We all want the same thing. If you don't agree with someone, you don't need to slag them off. You don't need to comment on it either. Just leave it, or have a polite conversation and a debate about it. But yeah, Scott Reynolds says Chansiri out. Enough is enough. Gonna wrap things up. It says that nearly 3,000 people have been watching. Between YouTube and on X. So massive thanks everyone that has been tuning in this evening, and those that tune in every single week, of course. We're going to be recording extra time straight after this. So if you want to hear more from us, then head over to patreon.com/WTID pod. Get in the Discord. It's been absolutely fantastic this week as well. There's been some laughs. There's been some heartfelt posts over on Discord between the community as well, and it's a great community to be a part of. I put up a message in there earlier saying, like, I'm proud to see that community that, well, initially I put that I've created, but I haven't created anything. It's the people that have created it. And patreon.com/WTID pod if you want to get involved in that one. But yeah, thank you very much. We'll be back. We're back, on Wednesday evening, of course, on the debate show. Same place, same time, Wednesday at 8 o'clock. So make sure you join us for that one. But thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.